Hi guys and welcome back to RedStone Productions. Today we have a very special video. As some of you might know, I'm actually originally from Rome. Last time I was here and actually went and visited Jesse's studio, so Jedi Sound Studio, check out the video on our YouTube channel. And today I'm actually visiting Teo Pizzolante's lab here in Rome within the Pigneto neighborhood, which is actually the base of Braingasm Lab. Hi Teo.
Hello.
Very nice to meet you again.
Nice to host you here in my lab.
That's super good, man. This used to be my own city when I was at the university. It's really nice to come back every time and get to meet and see how everybody's actually still doing here in Rome. We had the chance to talk over a million times, thanks also Stam Audio. You are the head designer for Stam Audio as well. But on top of that, you also have your own brand, which is Braingasm Lab. And that's what I would really like to talk about today, since we are actually where everything actually happens. This is the place where you originally designed your first microphones, you built each one of them by hand. I think what the audience would really like to know is a little bit of background history, because we know some of the Stam Audio products out there. I know that you are in charge of designing most of them. Definitely you build and design all of the original products that will be seeing the lights in the coming months for Stam Audio. But you also are particularly interested in designing microphones. So that's what I really like to discuss with you about.
Actually, I used to think about me as a sound engineer mainly because it's what I have been doing since when I was like 20 or 22. I have a master's degree in telecommunications engineer in the University of Bologna. I took my degree very young, I believe when I was 22 or 23 in 2004. Back in that days I had a rock band and that was based in Rome, so I decided to leave Bologna right after my degree and come here to believe in
Pursue your music career as a musician.
Yes, so basically pursuing the road of the rock star, but being young is that cool, so you have dreams and passion and energy. So I landed in Rome, followed for like a year the university career in an telecommunication engineering lab here in Rome, like studying wireless communication. Back in the days, we're talking about 2005, so no smartphones, no stuff like that. So we were like thinking of how to
get there.
Make these things, yeah. Yes. But I realized that that wasn't my way, so I left my chair to people who were really interested in that subjects and started to make the sound engineer, like for my band firstly, then had a school where I basically got bored because I came from a degree in engineering, electronic engineering, so all the first year where you are studying like maths, physics and stuff, it was pretty boring to me. Then I had a couple of lucky events that led me to the pro audio world in Rome at the highest level, maybe because I started to work as a stage manager in the Auditorium Parco della Musica, which is probably the best place where you can listen to live music in Rome.
Totally. Beautiful venue, very nice.
Yes, it's a very beautiful venue built by Renzo Piano, which is a famous architect. So I had the chance to learn from the biggest at the time, and working with, I remember like Philip Glass, I remember B.B. King, I remember Sigur Rós. So I had the opportunity to be in the right place at the right time. So luck is a way.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's a beautiful story because that's another thing that somehow it's very common among all of the pro audio, I would say, professionals, which is this huge passion for music. So we first and foremost love music. Some of us, most of us actually do play music one way or another. And then from there, we try to combine it with our academic studies. And for you, it was an actual real winner because you had all of the technical knowledge from the engineering world. You have all of this incredible passion for playing music and actually also engineering, first for your own band and then growing up, ending up also doing sound, live sound at the auditorium. That's huge. So that's great. And then what was the thing that made you transition from, okay, I love to play music, I love to actually make sure that when there's a live performance, the best possible sound comes out of the speakers. What was the thing that actually sparkled in you the interest of starting to design or build, let's say, pro audio gear, so gear that the musicians themselves would then have to use?
Well, from that point when it all started with this job in the auditorium where I was the microphone tech, so basically I was in charge of placing microphones on stage. It lasted like 2 or 3 years. Then I moved to on the road, basically following bands. I came from the punk rock scene, basically. So I have been resident engineer in some of the like cult music club in Rome, and had a very long time playing 3 bands per night, 5 days a week for years. So that was my real passion at the time. Like I kept playing with my band, but I was every night in a gig, like making sounds for 2, 3, 4, 5 bands per night for years. Life put another
Yeah, in the
another
meantime,
crossroad in my life, where a cinema director and Foley, a sound effects artist, wanted to make an immersive theatrical show, audio immersive theatrical show. So the idea was to build, to write, and to develop an immersive show where people like watching a movie, but listen to a movie, like blindfolded with headphones.
okay, so the audience was actually experiencing the movie just through sound.
Yes, it was like an immersive sound experience. Okay, it was called Il Fascinatore, the Charmer. They asked me to make sound for this, and we all three thought about binaural sound, because that was the way. Back in that time, binaural sound wasn't so popular in consumer environment. We all know that the binaural technique is back from like 60s or 70s, you know, made by Hugo Zuccarelli, which was an Argentinian sound engineer, and the bassist, the bass player from Nomadi, a very famous band in Italy, which his name is Umberto Maggi. So it was a very old technology used in records like Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, but always like in the background. So we started to research binaural science and psychoacoustic.
Okay.
It took like 1 year of brainstorming between us. Everybody has his own peculiar duty. We had a cinema director who thought about the story. We had a sound effect engineer who was in charge of like replicating sound effects, and I was in charge of the tech part. So the idea was to rent the Neumann binaural head, but we hadn't the money at the time. So they told me, well, you're an engineer, you studied
You studied these
engineering, you can do the stuff, so come on, do it.
Okay.
So I took the challenge and did it.
So the challenge was actually to build a replacement for the dummy head by Neumann. So in order to have the binaural recording.
Yes, so I took the challenge and I went to, how do you say, wig shop,
Ah.
wigs. So and bought a dummy head. Then I bought like silicone ear molds that were used for acupuncture training, you know, putting needles over there. And I started searching for high quality electret microphone capsules used for sound field recording. So that was my first project. I studied and learned. I took back all my university books and mixing this with my experience in sound over the years, and then a dummy head was born, basically. We called him Frank.
Frank. All right.
And
So it was made with two Omni then? Two Omni
yes, so
capsules.
we had two high quality 1-inch omnidirectional capsules with all the ear channel like replicated. So we had more than 1 year of experimenting of how to replicate in the most real way the feelings that sounds generate in our body and in our mind. And that is where Braingasm name came.
I was gonna ask, is this the actual cue for Braingasm? That's so, which is the name of your own microphone brand?
Yes, because Braingasm is the term that is used when you have goosebumps, when you hear a sound that in some way excites you. So we thought about the two most exciting feelings in the human nature, which are fear and sex, basically. So we wrote two short stories, one horror story, like one zombie story, basically, and one erotic pattern story. Then we asked true actors to act. So we did, how do you say, piano sequenza.
Yeah, all in one shot,
Yeah,
a one-shot sequence.
We do like training, test, rehearsal, and then we shot 30 minutes of audio without cuts, basically. And then this show, The Charmer, had a big success in Rome, actually. So after that, Braingasm was born, and I realized I could do high-quality microphones.
Every time I speak to my students, for instance, they all want to go and save up money to buy today's Neumann U87 because that's the stable, that's the standard. You know, if you have that, you can work. You can basically work. But what was for you the idea of actually starting to design your own studio microphones? Because we transitioned from engineering in clubs, in the auditorium, being on tour with bands, designing your first very special binaural microphone, Frank. What was the idea when you first said, okay, now let's try to draw a schematic, a board, a circuit that makes sense for me when it comes down to, for instance, have a condenser cardioid microphone. So what was your first prototype?
As we were talking before, I come from the punk rock scene, and I am a very passionate of the do-it-yourself philosophy, and a big fan of the low-end theory. So the idea, as it was the building of my first microphone, was making something that can deliver a professional result without spending a lot of money that actually we didn't have at the time. So combining passion, experience, knowledge and creativity, I realized in that moment that you can actually have very good professional results, speaking of audio chain and microphones in particular, without the need of spending that much money. So after that, my work and my research was in understanding microphone circuits and started modding it. So the next step after building my first prototype was working with all the bands and the engineers I knew in the scene, helping them to get good sound for a few money, basically. So we started, the microphone modding was like taking place in that years. I'm speaking about 2008 or stuff like that. I started modifying classic entry-level microphones. I believe I can tell some names like Apex 460.
There's
like
still a lot of
B2.
labs and engineers that actually do this. And
yeah, classic MXL, basically.
Indeed. What is the difference when you're modding one of those entry-level microphones?
Everybody talks about high-quality film capacitors and that stuff. I really don't believe in that stuff because I have that scientific approach of sound. Okay, so to me the main part, the weakest part of the industrial products are the active components of a microphone. I mean the tube, if it's a tube microphone, or the JFET, if it's a transistor microphone.
So you're saying that basically the most important work you were doing to these, let's say, entry-level microphones that were being modded by you was, first of all, making sure that you listen to the mic and tweak the bias of the active components, them being JFETs or tubes.
Yes, acting on semiconductors, basically diodes, transistors and tubes, in order to find the sweetest spot that particular microphone can believe. I also believe that the sound of a microphone is mostly in the capsule. So once we have like electronically set up the circuit to work the right way, because I think there is one right way each and every circuit can behave. There is the sound part of the tool, which is, to my belief, mostly in the capsule. So I started searching for capsule manufacturer and started also my research in capsule design. But in a certain sense, capsule design needs an industrial setup. You need tools, you need machines, which I hadn't at the time. So I was in charge of designing, speaking with mechanical engineers, acoustic engineers, which would translate my requirements sound-wise in an electronic product, which a capsule is. So I designed and developed a couple of capsules of my own design that are right now the heart of my own microphones. At a certain point I started to have requests. Big Italian artists got interested in my work. I can mention Piero Pelù from Litfiba, I can mention Daniele Silvestri, Sud Sound System, and also very well-known engineers worldwide like Joe Ciccarelli, who was in Rome recording Morrissey band.
They used some of your mics in.
Yes, so he was that kind to make a review for me, giving me like hints. Well, I mean, I'm speaking about having a hint from Mr. Ciccarelli.
Yeah.
So I can mention also Mark Russelli, which is the resident engineer of East Side Studio in New York. So basically the word got spread because everybody was happy of that, like not breaking a bank, have a good sound, have a direct relationship with the builder, which is at the same time the designer, which is at the same time the seller and the maintainer. So that is the reason why I, after more than 10 years, I keep making small batches. It's because it's a one-man band show, basically.
Right. So now going to the actual jam. So how many microphone models do you have available? How often do you build batches? How many items per batch?
Since 2018, I am the chief engineer for RedStone Audio. I had like almost 3 years living in Chile working with them, and I keep working with Joshua for new projects. I'm like establishing a custom shop in Europe for original units. So yes, I'm busy. I keep making live sounds for some bands as well because I really love it. So being behind the mixing desk is the most entertainer thing for me still now.
Yeah, it's still braingasmic to you.
Yeah. Yes, I still have Braingasm when I got a big kick and snare, like playing on a huge PA. So
I get that.
That's the thing.
But still, you manage to keep up with your own original brand, which is Braingasm.
Yes, so well, I am actually doing 20 or 30 pieces per year.
Okay.
And following the production from scratch, so getting the metal body, going to a shop here near my lab to get it painted, then like assembling components and mounting PCBs here in the lab with my wife. I prefer to stay like low profile and direct related with each and every customer, which I don't even like to call him customer.
You have a few different models. I know you have a fat, you have a tube.
I mostly make large diaphragm and condenser microphones. So I have one tube model which is called Magnitube, which we can say is the flagship. I hate this word, but the tube microphone, which is the most complex and complete model I have, which is a tube circuit of my design coupled with an M7 capsule.
One thing I would like to do with you, if possible, is I would like to show the audience maybe some of your mics, maybe even the building process, if we can. It's maybe a portion of it. I'm not
Sure.
and so they can actually get to see what are the ingredients that make this pie, so to speak.
Okay, so this is my bench where I used to sit when I design and build my stuff. You can see like microphone making implies a quite minimal setup. You don't really need a lot of tools, but you need to be clean and tidy, yes.
First of all, man, congratulations. I've never seen a lab this clean. It looks like...
This is mandatory. I used to treat my lab like a hospital clinic rather than
it feels
an
like I'm at the
electronic lab.
dentist,
So
but with a lot of nice gear there.
I'm very proud of it. So I keep like cleaning 1 hour per day this in order to make it tidy.
You can see.
Well, we have the Magnitube microphone here. As you can see, is a classic tube circuit, which in the end doesn't need a lot of components, but rather a lot of care. This is the M7 capsule we spoke about.
Right.
Okay,
So this is the flagship one.
yeah, this is the flagship. As you can see, is all discrete components, hand wiring, and all the stuff of your love.
Yeah.
And this is the multi-deluxe microphone, which is the transformerless design, multi-pattern. I was talking before,
Very nice and clean layout.
referring it as the Swiss Army knife, I hate to say. So Let's mount the capsule.
Let's do that.
I used to work with gloves, but this is a little bit more than a simulation, so I'm not wearing it for all of you who will comment that
This is just
fingerprints.
It's a bit for you guys on cameras. That's
Okay.
for the audience.
So, as this is a challenge for me because I am a very messy guy, and in the end, I used to work with microscopic stuff, so micro washers and micro screws. So basically, this is the process of building a microphone, assembling the PCB, mounting it, wiring it, and then the capsule is the very last thing. So I have my set of favorite tools, which are very few, but still the same after years of working. That's how I spend my day. Yeah, I spend my day losing these goddamn mini washers, as you can see, so everything is dropping on the floor. The very same file I bought 20 years ago, which is still my favorite. Screws dropping all the time. This is the capsule assembling. Then there is a way to wire the capsule leads. I have learned from a master who recently passed away, rest in peace, Mr. Andreas Grosser. This is very helpful to damp the capsule wire resonance. So this is why hand making things is very different from industry stuff. I'm not saying that industry stuff is not good at all. I will never say something like this, but it is just a different product. You know, there's a reason why you are buying something that you know somebody else took care of it, a lot of care. Okay, so now we go on the soldering iron. I have learned soldering in the first recording studio where I used to work, where the first job the studio owner gave me was to wire a 96-point balanced patch bay.
Ooh, okay. So you started super hardcore, man.
University was like the entry door for all of this. It just gave me like passion and ideas, because you all know that the Italian way of making university is quite academic. I discovered this my own way, basically. So it's like a deductive method of learning, where you study the theory and later on you realize how you can use this theory in real life. But basically is a trial and error process.
And when it comes down to designing the actual circuit board, is that something you do on a computer?
I use like Eagle, which is the one of the most common
you do it on an
design
actual,
programs.
Then you do it on a board yourself, do a little prototype on a motherboard.
Well, this is a job I did back in the days. Right now I have my projects, I just click on it and make it manufacture.
Okay.
So capsule is plugged. Okay, shall we see if it works?
That would be nice.
Let's see. The everyday surprise
Every day is
when I
surprise.
mount diode
Man, something
backwards.
something I love about these microphones in themselves as well is the look of them. That's brilliant. It's something again that screams hand built and quality as well.
I got inspired of the hexagonal shape and of this shape of the top of the microphone by old Romanic churches we have in Italy. There are the on the top of the front door there are like stone carvings called rosoni in Italian, like geometrical shape, and of course from nature, which is the main inspiration font of creative people, which is beecomb. So the hexagonal grill is the best compromise between structural strength and open air surface. It helps to minimize inner reflections of the head basket. So let's fire it up.
Shall we try it? So how do you normally try these mics? You plug it straight into an audio in?
Yes, I have like a basic audio interface with common transistor preamps. I get the phantom power, and then we got it running. Check, check, check. So once the microphone is built and tested, because I still mount diode backwards and that stuff, so once it is like working correctly, we move to the last part, which is the most important, that is the fine-tuning, because each JFET, even within tolerance, is different from one another. So if we want it to perform the way we want, there is only one point where we need to go. So what I do is test the bias voltage and turn it to the value I want, which is in this case 2.8 volts.
Interesting.
We are there.
Yeah, we are very much.
So with this process, I am sure to deliver the best possible sounding microphone I can build.
Okay, I guess if there would be a tube microphone, you would let it burn in a bit.
I used to burn in also FET microphones because components may expose failure after a while. So I used to make the same burning process for tube microphones and JFET microphones. Like the Multi Deluxe, also the Magnitube has a small trimmer here, which is responsible of capsule polarization. I fine-tune the capsule polarization voltage in order to match the polarizing voltage of the power supply. This way, only this way, you can reach the perfect figure of 8
Okay.
pattern, okay, because front capsule and rear capsule should be polarized exactly the same way but opposite. Okay, so a few controls, few details, but really necessary to make a very good microphone.
When it comes down to the power supply itself of this tube mic, because man, that's gorgeous, that's beautiful just to look at.
We can have a sneak peek if you want.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be great if we can. The series I'm doing on my YouTube channel, it's called Look Into.
Look into it. So let's look into it. So this is the Magnitube power supply, made by hand as well. This is the Carnhill transformer I was talking before. This is the power transformer, which is made in Rome too, by a factory called Fiat, which is not the factory of cars, but is Fabbrica Italiana Trasformatori, Autotrasformatori. So it's Italian factory of transformers. It's a very old lab here in Rome with like transformer Jedis, ninjas, people that really know the shit. So when I refer to power devices, I always ask the man to build me a custom toroidal transformer because he really knows the job. So everything that comes out of my shop speaking about power and power transformers is top-notch for real. Trimmer inside is to fine-tune the high voltage for the tube. Then I have a reference for the capsule polarization and I match it with the internal trimmer. Nothing is left, like also security stuff, isolating things, earthings. It all complies to international security standard also because high voltage is not a joke, so we have to be very careful and picky when speaking about high voltage. So magnitude, power supply, cable.
Also nice connectors.
Yeah, binder connector, industrial with high security standard also. Switchcraft connectors, because in my experience in audio industry and sound systems, 9 times on 10 the problem is the cable. So I pay a lot of attention in connections. So let's fire it up. Light is on. Grounding properly. Then let's check high voltage, which is 170 maybe. Yeah, it's dropping a little bit. Then what I do is probe the capsule here, which in this case is a little low. These are all freshly built. So, well, let's do it for real. I am measuring the cardioid pattern voltage, which is this 49. So what I do is look for the 49 here, trimming this to exactly 49. That's the one and only way you have the real figure of 8 pattern with a true 0 on the 90 degrees. Well, let's go to the fancy stuff, which is important as well. This last batch of 30 microphones has been made in collaboration with a wood artist called Kuma, which is a guy from Naples who works on recycled woods. I have a particular attention also on not wasting, like I use recycled materials whenever I can. I have like recycled paper packaging, no fancy aluminum bags and stuff. So this is handmade also in small series, and each and every box is signed with a serial number and the signature of this artist, which is Kuma. You can find it maybe on Instagram. What we do also have here is a custom shock mount I have designed. Is a bayonet system. Let me check if I have something plugged here. Let's try it. This is the way the microphone gets closed. And you have the bottom belt screwed on. Okay, and the locking system works this way. And you can shake it any way you want. We have a degree angle scale for the most picky of you.
That's very nice.
I have to thank my close friend for the beautiful metal work he do for me. Then this new batch includes a shock mount holder, which is signed too, and this is quite peculiar because it's recycled wood floor. How do you say, parquet?
Yeah.
Okay. This project calls Aero Parquet, which is I was a floor once.